Welcome. Yep. Can we do that again? I had an alert come up just as I was starting that, and it threw me a little bit.
Before we start, does that sound like the Rick and Morty music a little bit when they are intro music? Have you ever noticed that before?
I didn't. Well,
I didn't.
So
now I'll have to listen to that.
There's an initiative. Debo and I decided that to try to combine, make it seem cohesive, that instead of our intro music for the pod, using the TV, the network intro and outro to make it kind of all be cohesive. So I know of Rick and Morty, but I got to be honest, I've never seen it, so I don't know.
It's great.
It's a great.
I haven't seen the last couple seasons though. Have you seen the new ones, John?
I haven't. I mean, there's so many of them. It's kind of like
I know.
Like I get to it when I get to it. If you're wondering, my landlord just sent my rent. That was the old push alert, and I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta pay my rent." Okay.
By the way, that would throw any of us off.
Yeah. I was like, oh God, such a big number. California is so expensive. All right, let's ride.
All right.
You just want me to start it?
No, I'll do I can do the open again. Yeah, no worries.
Welcome to the latest edition of Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez alongside our NBA insider, Bill Reiter. Bill, the other day we did part one of our Eastern Conference over-under win totals. Today we're going to do part two. You've had a little second to think about it. You nailed the first part.
Crushed it. No, I didn't. Dude, these are hard, man. I like, as we talked about, I like my Celtics over pick. Yeah. I'm excited about, look, the show a couple days ago was fun. Today's show, though, are not the dregs. So even if I'm not as sure, it's easier. I think it's easier to get your arms around teams that are good than teams that are really, really bad.
We discussed, like, in part one, how, going through part one, you had Chicago and Brooklyn and Detroit, and there was just some, like, really
Charlotte. Did you say Charlotte? Yeah.
Charlotte was in there. Yeah. And this was during a podcast where we were discussing how the Eastern Conference is going to be much better, but this is the part that's going to be better. We're going to get to some of these good teams. We're going to begin with the Indiana Pacers, who had really, by all accounts last year, Bill, the best possible season that the Indiana Pacers could have hoped for. 47 wins. They end up finishing sixth in the East. Yes, they get swept by the Boston Celtics, but it was in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think if you had told anybody in Indiana, hey, at the end of the year, you're going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, they would have signed up for that immediately. It was a good year.
Amazing season. You nailed it. Great. Played in the play-in championship and that run. Lots of, and Halliburton
in-season tournament that is now
in-season tournament. I can't remember what it's NBA Cup. Is that what it's? I should know NBA this, right? Cup. NBA. Yeah. I love it though because it sends me to Vegas. So good job, NBA. It's an amazingly magical event. Yeah, no, amazing season for the Pacers last year, and it's why it makes this number that we're going to hit really hard because there's a world where you can look at last year and say this is that was the groundwork, the cornerstone for taking a step forward.
Yeah, I mean, for putting them on basically the exact same number as they got last season makes sense to me. In the offseason, they secure Pascal Siakam, who they had traded for. They give him a 4-year deal. That's a big deal. Andrew Nembhard gets an extension. He's a very useful player. I kind of vary on Obi Toppin, but he's fine off the bench.
He was good. I mean, he was an on-role player, bench player. Yeah.
Tyrese Halliburton, just an integral part of Team USA this summer, comes back with his gold medal. Just think about the boost that'll give to his confidence.
Played as many minutes for that team as we did, as you and I did, I think, if I remember right.
When you come back and, you school starting, I live across from a high school now. And I think about, these kids coming back. Hey, what'd you do with your summer? And Tyrese Halliburton's like, I spent it abroad in Paris. It was amazing. But yeah, I still think that this is one of those middle pack in the Eastern Conference teams, right? I mean, like sort of interchangeable with Cleveland and Orlando and maybe the Bucks. I don't know.
So I can't take an over on every one of these teams. I kind of – all right, so here's the question for me on these guys. The Halliburton we saw, and I'm trying to remember this, I think up through early January when he got hurt he was an MVP level. He was a top 5 player in the NBA at that point. It's easy to forget because it feels like 100 years ago. And he did it in the in-season in the NBA Cup. Expert here, John. In the NBA Cup in-season tournament, like his level was amazing, and it went away. Everything they did, he wasn't awful, right? It wasn't like he was a terrible player, but he was not at the elite level, top of the NBA, top 10 player. The second half of the season, they was the first half of the season. So if you think that that's who Halliburton can really be, and he can reclaim that a little bit, and maybe the injury threw him off, and the fact Siakam's back, and they have a whole year to sort of play together and to come off the momentum, there's a world where I haven't decided yet. I'm trying to talk myself into the over.
We're doing it on the fly.
I'm trying to. I wrote it down, but I'm changing my mind.
While you're thinking it through, the big question we know what this team can do well, and that's push the ball. They're really fun to watch offensively. They've got a lot of different ways that they can beat you at that end of the floor. The defense is the question for me. If they could even be like slightly worse than average, that would be okay. Last year, they were just a bad defensive team. They were 24th in defense. Now, post All-Star break, they did get better.
Yeah, they improved.
But 24th is not going to cut it if you want to clear 47.5 wins. I guess I'm going to reluctantly go slightly under on this.
45 or 46, are you thinking?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood, but it wouldn't shock me if they went over. There's a world where the offense is so good and the defense improves slightly that they hit 50, right? I could see them being I'm picking the Magic to finish fourth in the Eastern Conference this season, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Pacers finish fourth.
I'm gonna go over, and it's for the reason that you sort of hit. Is that defense improved drastically in February, right, and beyond? And Siakam came in mid-January. It was like January 15th or 16th or 17th, whatever. His first game was like January 18th or something in that range. So I'll just give it a little time for them to kind of get in sync together, right? Halliburton was hurt for that stretch. When Siakam was there and they kind of got in rhythm after the All-Star game, to your point, the defense was mediocre. It was fine. It was not a total disaster. So it's really close. I said this last time. It's going to be by a couple games. They're not winning 54 games, right? So the ranges on a lot of these teams isn't very wide, which makes it harder, I think, to do this. Whereas like the range for the Celtics is really high. It's anywhere from 56 wins to 67 wins. So it's easier to go under on a 58 or 58 and a half. I'm going to go over with the Pacers.
Okay.
But because I think that I think Halliburton can be a little more consistently outstanding. I think that the defense can be a little bit improved. And I think the run that they had last year can be sort of the groundwork for being not a championship level team, but a team that can be in the top four. I'll go over.
You're slide over. I'm slide under. These teams, like you were saying, there's several teams that we've talked about in the Eastern Conference that basically their over under is essentially what they had last season, where part of it is, look, as you mentioned, the odds makers are really good at this, but part of it also feels like they feel like we do, where we're like, I don't know what to make of this. The Cavaliers are going to be right around what they were last year. The Pacers, this next team that we're talking about, the Miami Heat, I feel like the odds makers, kind of like us, are just like, I don't know, just put down the number that they had last year, and we'll just challenge people to figure it out. Brings us to the Miami Heat. Their over under is 45.5 wins. Last year they went 46-36, finished 8th in the East, end up as a play-in team. They get out of the play-in, and then they get throttled by the eventual champion Boston Celtics 4-1, despite the fact that they did not have Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, very convinced that had he been there, he would have vanquished the eventual champions. I don't know what to do with this team either, Bill. They bring back, obviously, re-sign Bam Adebayo, 3 years, $166 million. He looked really good in the Olympics. But as always with this team, it's basically like, what's going on with Jimmy? How many games is he going to play? Because during the regular season, he's often not available. He has missed a ton of games for Miami.
And he is kind of like the Jim Harbaugh of NFL coaching. He wears on people. He wears on organizations, and he moves around. And like 44.5 is a tough number. I'm going to go under. Look, I'm going to go under despite the fact I think the most important aspect of this team is Eric Spoelstra being the head coach. And I shouldn't fade Eric Spoelstra. I think he is the Mike Tomlin of the NBA. He wins with whatever he has. That said, you had Riley taking shots at Butler in the offseason, in the sort of postseason press conference. Jimmy, to your point, is never reliable, and he's a year older. I think that at the top, as we've talked about, the top 6-7 teams in the Eastern Conference are a little bit better. So, and I know that this number varies different places, right? Some places it's 44.5, some places it's 45.5. I'm feeling a lot better about the under if it's 45.5 because I think a game is going to make a difference. But just because I know that I took the Pacers on the over and I know that I like some of these other teams to be a little bit better, I can't have every team be an over. I think Miami takes a little bit of a step backwards, even though they have the best coach in the NBA.
So at 44.5, which way are you going? You're going.
Pass is not a good answer for a podcast. I will go under reluctantly, and I'll feel a little. If it's 45.5, I'll feel a lot better because this team is not winning 39 games, right? This is
no.
Like if you told me that they were 41-41 or 42-40, that would not surprise me. But I think that's the floor. They're not getting to. I don't think they're getting anywhere near 50 wins. So it's like
either.
41 or 42 to 46 or 47 for me. So I'll go on the under.
Okay, at 44.5, I'm going to go over just slightly. I think this is, the Heat is just this is yet another one, like same with the Pacers, where I'm like, it's going to be right around that number. They're just a professional, competent team. Even when Jimmy isn't around, Bam is really good. The question for me is if Jimmy isn't going to be around, because he frequently isn't available during the regular season, do we get the Bam Adebayo that we saw in the Olympics where like he takes a step forward and like looks like a star? He never looks like a one. He's always a one.
I don't think he is a one. Yeah, I think he's a really, really, really great two. By the way, compliments to you on saying the Miami Heat is, full disclosure, can't do it, won't do it, refuse
to do it.
Did I
say Miami Heat is?
You did. It's grammatically right. When I was covering the Heat, I would write R, and all the beat writers write is, and I didn't care. Oh, you didn't know? You naturally grammared that thing.
What? Accident. I kind of blacked out, I think, and did it through osmosis, maybe. All right. Well, so you're going
44.5
over. It's 44.5.
Confirmed.
I don't know. It feels like it's going to be right around there. These are tough. We do this for a living. I mean, like I stared at these numbers for a while, and I'm like, I think this is going to be right around where the Heat are going to be. All right, we're going to take a break, and then on the other side, we're going to continue part 2 of our Eastern Conference over-unders with yet another team that I don't know what to make of, the Milwaukee Bucks. That's coming up. This is Beyond the Arc.
Saturday is big time on CBS. Number 2 Ohio State welcomes Akron into the Horseshoe. Then more college football in prime time with UCLA taking on Hawaii. Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez. He's Bill Ryder. Just a reminder to find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please download, subscribe, and leave a review. All right, Bill, the Milwaukee Bucks, weird year for them last year. Giannis gets hurt, doesn't go well for them in the playoffs. Never really looked like he and Dame were in sync. Chris Middleton was alternately like recovering, available, not available. Those three guys were like not on the floor enough. They end up still, though, despite all of that. And by the way, firing their head coach midway through and bringing in your guy, Doc Rivers, still go 49-33, almost win 50 games with that team.
Yeah. What a now, I mean, they did not have a terrible record when they brought in Doc Rivers, right? I mean, things were going okay. Yeah, there's so many things to try to weigh to factor in here. Do you think Middleton has faded as a former All-Star? Is he still like a legitimate number 3 on a championship level team? I think it's a question mark. And then you have to throw in health. Is Giannis going to be healthy? Is Damian Lillard, I'm not saying that he's washed, but is he still capable of being like the guy that he was with Giannis? Does that fit work? And then there's the Doc Rivers question. I will say this. I was wrong last year. I thought Doc was going to come in, be really great, get kind of an uplift, a little bit of honeymoon period, because clearly some of those guys didn't love the previous dude. And then he was just going to completely like get up 3-1 in the playoff series and then lose that series in the first round. And that was going to be it. And he was just bad in general from the beginning and sort of mediocre. But he tends to be a very successful regular season coach, John. So I think as it relates, we're not talking championship or playoffs, just winning games. I think Doc is usually a net positive in the regular season in that respect. And he gets the whole season this time at camp.
So they win 49 last year. The over-under this season for the Milwaukee Bucks is set at 50.5. All the questions that you have about this team, I think, are legitimate. I almost kind of look at it the opposite way. Like with a good team, sometimes you're in a game and you're losing, right? And you're like, man, everything went wrong. We couldn't make any shots. We turned the ball over a ton. We couldn't rebound. Hey, we're only down 4 at the break. That's kind of what the Milwaukee Bucks felt like to me last season, where a lot of stuff didn't go well and they still won 49 games. And I think it might have become that, because nobody's talking about the Bucks right now, right? It's the Celtics are the NBA champions, defending NBA champions. The Knicks are absolutely loaded. The Sixers rebooted this thing on the fly. Those are the 3 teams that people are really talking about. I think it's almost gone too far away from like, hey, the Bucks could still be something. Like Giannis alone right there, baseline, makes you a contender. So if they can, 2 things need to happen. One, and I don't think Doc is a stupid person. I think that, more pick and roll with Dame and Giannis, and what's that look like? And maybe they even invert that pick and roll. And then 2, the defense, right? They were 19th in defense last year. That has to get better.
Which is bizarre. Even under Doc, they weren't great. So I'm going over. I am.
Oh,
I'm a little.
I just made the case for going over, and I'm going under.
What, dude? Fade me, everybody. Fade me, John. I think that Doc Rivers should be capable, and I think that he is, of making Milwaukee. Because you said it. All these details matter. They have a top 3 player in the NBA. They have a top 3 player in the NBA. He is a former MVP. He's a former Finals MVP. He's a future Hall of Famer. He has the potential to be. There's a lot of competition here, but when all these guys retire, a top 20 or better player in the history of the game. Giannis is that great, and I think maybe some of that has also been overshadowed by how great Joker has been, and Embiid before he got hurt in the 70 points, and just the rise of some of these young guys. Giannis is legit. I think they can win 50 games. I think if Giannis is healthy, and I can't, you never know who's going to get hurt, right? You're going to get screwed on some of these bets unless you're betting the under, and it helps you. You're going under.
I'm going under, slight under. Everything you just said makes sense. Because I'm higher on the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Sixers, it's just hard for me to imagine. Maybe there is a world where there's 4 50-win teams in the Eastern Conference. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah, fair.
Been a long time. So I think the Bucks are going to be right around where they were last year, 48, 49 wins, slight under on the 50.5. All right, moving on to one of those teams that I'm guessing very high on. Ashley's not here to join us on this, but the New York Knicks, great season for them last year. They win 50 games. They finished second in the East. Yes, they lost to the Pacers in the second round in 7 games, but they were so injured, and they were top 10 in both offense and defense with all of those injuries. They obviously hit on Jalen Brunson, who was a top 5 MVP candidate, takes the hometown discount so that they can throw more money at OG Anunoby. They acquire Mikal Bridges. Yes, it was an absolute overpay, but just from basketball, look, I've mentioned this before. It bears repeating, though, Bill. If the Boston Celtics are the best team in the NBA 1 through 5, the Knicks might be deepest 1 through 8. I mean, I throw up some other teams in there, but they're just so deep.
But does their coach know that he's allowed to play players at 6, 7, and 8? Can we effort that and answer on that? Can someone ask at the press conference?
The Tibbs handcuffs to worry about here.
For real, though.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think that conversation was like with Leon Rhodes? 52.5 for this over-under for the Knicks. But do you think Leon was like, look, man, you got a lot of good players. Can you please use them during the regular season so you don't blow everybody out?
The thing is, how do you have that conversation when his strategy got them 50 wins? And I don't know, man.
So let me run this past you, because how could any of us get in the mind of one Tom Thibodeau, right? However, last year, Julius Randle goes down and OG wasn't available, and they kind of just stumble into Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo being awesome.
Yes.
And they had been useful parts during the regular season, but they weren't critical Tom Thibodeau guys. Tom then decides that he is going to play Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo all the minutes
every minute now
postseason. Josh Hart, there's 48 minutes in a game. Tibbs is going to figure out a way to play you 49. Okay, well, now they're moving to the bench. Doesn't he still want to play with those toys?
I don't know. It's also how is the Randall fit going to be coming off an injured season where he's not a defensive specialist, to say the least. And how do you make sure Bridges is happy? And I don't, and OG, I mean, I don't have a good answer. And so I am actually going to go under here for a couple reasons. One, 51 wins or 50 wins, which is what they got last year, is an amazing season.
Big number.
Two, I do think Milwaukee is going to be better. I do think Philly is going to be better. We both think Boston's going to be the best team in the NBA in the regular season, or at least certainly in the Eastern Conference. We'll talk West doing this next week. So I just think the competition is tough. And I'm a little worried about Tibbs managing these things in a way that is both good for the rhythm of the team and keeps people motivated. Not to use a soccer analogy, but sometimes you got to, like, if Tibbs doesn't play guys and then guys start enough minutes as he does the Tibbs, and then guys start to get frustrated who should be playing or played last year, and then it affects the locker room. I don't think they're going to win 30 games as a result, but there's a lot of factors here that make me kind of wonder if maybe, 52.5, they're going to win 53 or 54 or 55, and they're the Knicks. I know they're really good, and I think it's a different conversation when you get to the playoffs, but the regular season's a different deal. Yeah, I think 50 wins is right in the range, I would guess.
What about, because, everybody is looking at the Knicks after what they did last season, right? I mean, like, there's a lot of attention on them. They play in New York. It's not like they already don't have a lot of attention. Do you think that pressure will be a factor at all? I mean,
not with Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
I do think Brunson shields them. I mean, some of it too, it's hard doing this with the East, as we've talked about, because the bottom, whatever it is, 4, 5, 6 teams are really, really bad.
Yes.
But then you get to the top, and I don't know, wherever you place Cleveland, the Pacers, the Magic, right? Whatever, there's a lot of, I think, really good. There are a lot of teams that are 45, 48, 49. There's a lot of teams that are 49 win teams on paper. A lot of them. So I just think, like, the Pacers are going to be a little bit better. And I just think the East is going to be really, really tough. And I worry about maybe incorporating all these guys or Tibbs playing all these guys. And there's health issues that have been true for some of these Knicks players. Randall, Brunson, OG.
OG so especially.
And OG, as you know, I don't have the number in front of me, but they were outstanding when he played, right? With their record with OG when he played was the best in the NBA.
I think it was 26-5, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. So they need him, right? I don't feel great about it. I'm going under.
I hear what you're saying. I'm going over.
You favorite everyone. I love it.
I love I hate to say this. My friends and family won't like to hear it, but I'm so high on the Knicks this year. And yes, they do have issues with, is Tibbs going to rotate these guys properly? What's it look like when Julius Randle comes back? You and I have whispered both when Ashley's around and when Ashley is not around. Sorry, 20-3 with OG.
Yeah.
Slightly overshot.
I think your stat might be right with the playoffs. I think it was I'm trying to remember, but I remember it being 3 losses.
Whatever it was, they were
really good
with OG. Yeah. So, injury issues with him for sure. But I just look at it in the same way that I love when the Celtics acquired Jrue Holiday last year, having their 2 guys who were all NBA defense last year, right? Like all defensive team, made second team, and Derek White and Jrue Holiday on the perimeter. Now you've got OG and Mikal Bridges, who are probably the 2 best wing defenders that you could throw out there in the Eastern Conference in tandem. And oh, by the way, if you're going to compete with the Boston Celtics, what would you need? 2 really amazing wing defenders to defend Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So I just love the way that they're set up. I'm going to go over. I know it's a big number, but if they stay healthy, the Knicks are going to be right there. They're very, very good.
And to your argument, last year, the West had 5. I think they had 5 50-win teams. I mean, it can happen. It can happen. It was
26-5 with the playoffs. So you said, when OG is out there, he's very, very good. All right. On to the Orlando Magic, who took a step forward last year, 47-35, ended up 5th. They lost in the first round to the Cleveland Cavaliers in 7 games. Struggled offensively, Bill. A little offensively challenged. Defensively, though, they are awesome. 3rd in defense last year. And what did they do in the offseason? They bring in KCP on a really good contract. He fits in seamlessly because he's going to be another defensive weapon for a team that is already loaded at that end. And oh, by the way, what did they need? They needed somebody who can knock down 3-point shots. Hello, KCP. He can do that for you. So I think he's going to help them offensively. I don't know that he's going to supercharge them offensively. I still worry about what they're going to do late in games, who's taken the last shot. Maybe Paolo Banchero takes a step forward. Franz Wagner, he got extended 5-year max. I like this team. This is a team that stock up for me on them.
Stock up. Are you going
47.5 wins, by the way, is the over-under for this team. So basically exactly where they were last season.
I am a little Magic skeptical. I'm a little – part of that is just because of how good the Eastern Conference is above them. Part of that – I'm going to get all of these wrong. It's going to be unbelievable when I go like 3-27 on these over-unders.
You and I are really going in different directions on these.
You go first.
I'll go first. This is team number 4 in the Eastern Conference for me. I think that the first 3 are pretty clearly defined, and I'm taking the Magic to finish 4th in the Eastern Conference. I don't know that they're going to crush this number, but if they get 49, 50 would be unbelievable for them. But I do think they're going to clear this. I'm going to go over. I really like this team. I like them for the same reason that I like the Minnesota Timberwolves, Bill. I think that they're kind of a Timberwolves starter kit. That defense, they play through defense, and look, their shots, they're offensively challenged. I wish they had gotten a guard who could make some shots. Jalen Suggs is an awesome defender. He's not somebody that you're looking to and you're going to go, man, we could really use some buckets from you. Jonathan Isaac, if he's healthy, an otherworldly defender, might even be the best defender in the NBA when he's healthy. Again, not a guy that you're getting shots from. Franz Wagner needs to take a step forward offensively. Last year, I thought he kind of plateaued a little bit, and I want to see what Paolo Banchero can really become. But defensively, they are rock solid. I love the KCP addition. Team number 4 in the Eastern Conference, over.
They are the exact mirror opposite of the Pacers, too, by the way. Like how they go about all defense, no offense. The Pacers are so much more fun to watch play. The Magic's approach maybe has a higher ceiling, but like more likely to work, right? Because you don't need shots to be falling. 47.5. They won 47 yet. So basically Vegas is like, here's the same number with a little bit of a hedge to improvement. All right, they're going to win exactly 48 games. I don't think they're going to finish 4th. I'm going over, though. Very slight.
Over. Join me with the over.
Last game of the year.
Listen, this is my early adoption team in the same way that OKC and the Wolves were last year. In the Eastern Conference.
So many.
I'm Eastern Conference early adoption on the Orlando Magic. We're going over. All right, one more break, and then on the other side, reluctantly, we will get to another team that many people are high on in the Eastern Conference. We must discuss them. The Philadelphia 76ers. That's coming up on Beyond the Arc.
America's Service Academies kick off their seasons right here on CBS Sports Network.
Welcome back to Beyond the Arc. I'm John Gonzalez. He's Bill Ryder. Just a reminder, you can also find us over on YouTube. You can find our page at Beyond the Arc CBS. Please hit the like button, leave a comment. Sometimes we read those on the show. Subscribe to the show. That'll help people find us as well. It's fun stuff going over. Plus, you can. I'm wearing a Sonic shirt today. You can see Bill's smiling face. It's T-shirt Thursday. We're having a good time here.
T-shirt Thursday.
T-shirt Thursday. All right. Philadelphia 76ers, Bill. Last year, 47-35. End up in the play-in. Joel Embiid gets hurt. He was having an MVP caliber season. Then they reboot this thing completely. Daryl Morey walks the high wire. And does it. He gets Paul George. He brings in Caleb Martin, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon. I mean, it's a totally different team. Tobias Harris is now in Detroit. Nico Batum goes back to LA. But this is a team that has really high expectations. Again, 47 wins last year. Like the New York Knicks, they're over under this season set at 52.5. I'm too close to this one. You go first.
I wrote down 75 wins for your team, John. NBA.
Sounds about right. Might be low.
I am so excited to just pump you full of enthusiasm and belief this year.
I hate it.
All right, so I really like a lot Philly's opportunities if we were talking all the way through June rather than mid-April, right?
Okay.
But here's the thing. It takes a while for teams to gel. It takes a while for new teams to gel. They're a new team. It takes a while often for like legitimate superstars who pair up for the first time to gel. PG and Embiid, and Maxey, that's a real thing. Joel is either going to get hurt again, or they're going to properly give him some of the rest that he needs. And I would load manage the hell out of him.
Yep,
I would. So I actually, when we do this show and we do predictions at some point, or we talk in general terms, I'm going to be really high on the ceiling of Philadelphia. I think they have a huge ceiling, and I'm not saying you should plan the parade and get the time off now to go back to Philly for the parade, but I'm not saying you shouldn't.
Okay.
But I'm actually going to go under here because I think there's the possibility for learning curve of a new team. There's the possibility of, like we've seen a million times, two superstars trying to coexist. And I think Embiid needs to sit more than he did, and or he'll be injured, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's both. So I'll go like, if I'm Philly, finish 5th or 6th, have a healthy Embiid, figure out your rhythm after the All-Star game, or even march on the last 6 weeks, even play good basketball as a team. I think you can win an NBA championship. I certainly think you can make a run and compete against the Knicks and the Celtics, right? Those are the teams for me in the East. But I think over the course of the regular season, there's going to be some hiccups, and I'm going to go under a big 52.5.
52.5 under. For those of you watching on our YouTube page, producer Aaron's having some fun with the Chiron, and he has the over under for the 76ers set at 81.5. Do they win all the games they play this season or not? I think multiple things are true at the same time, right? That this team is on paper greatly improved from not only last season, Bill, but this is, I think, the best Sixers team that they've had since the Jimmy Butler year, where they lose on the 4-bounce shot to Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors go on and become NBA champions. That team was a really good team. Since then, there hasn't been a team around Joel where you go, oh man, they do a lot of different things well. And I think Daryl Morey, full credit, he stripped this thing down to the studs. He had a bunch of cap space. He had a plan, and he built a team this offseason where you can see the vision where Paul George should be a seamless fit as the third guy with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Caleb Martin doing a lot of they got him on a sweetheart deal, and he probably screwed himself on his contract where could have gotten more money if he had stayed. But he does so many things well, like the little things, rebounding, and he's a smart passer. He's a really good defender, and I like Caleb Martin. Andre Drummond coming back as your backup center. When you were saying that they need to load manage the hell out of Joel Embiid, Joel even said it. Like, I probably don't need to be an MVP candidate this year where I'm playing 35, 36, 38
Love
minutes
to hear
a game. I would like to see him, look, ideal world, he's playing 30 minutes a game, and Andre Drummond's playing 18. That's never going to happen because he's Joel Embiid. But even if it was down like 32, 33 minutes a game, I would be happy with that. So
sit out games here and there maybe too, right? Just every now and then, just sit out some games.
Sit out several games. So, you said finish 5 or 6. I'd like to see them finish top 4 to have a home court advantage in the first round. And I think they will. I think that they're going to be 2-3 with the Knicks right behind the Celtics. They're just really good, and they've got a lot of redundancy here, and they're shockingly deep for the fact that they ended up rebuilding this thing in the offseason. So all those things said, under. I'm going under.
Are you doing the reverse jinx though?
No.
Is that reverse jinx under?
It's not a reverse jinx under. It's 52.5 is a big number. And I think they're going to be smart about it because I think, they're going to be a really good team and they're going to win a lot of games. And also, they don't need to be the best team in the regular season. They just don't need to be. So under.
I think the Pacers or the Bucks can jump them in the regular season if because they, by the way, maybe it's because when I covered that Heat team with LeBron, they went 9-8. It just seared in my. I could see Philly starting off 15-12 and everybody freaking out, right? Because it can take a while.
It could. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, new players on new teams. I mean, everybody's new except for 2 guys. So it's going to take them a second to figure out how to play with each other. Where's the bathroom and all that stuff. All right, moving on from the Sixers. This is one that we flagged early, you and I, the Toronto Raptors, as what do you do with this team? And also, what are they doing? They're kind of like the worst place to be in the NBA is in the middle. And the Raptors are going to be, I think, pretty squarely in the middle here, Bill. They won 25 games last year. They end up extending Scotty Barnes. Emmanuel quickly gets a new deal, 5 years for 162. RJ Barrett coming off a really good Olympics. I've said before, I'm not an RJ Barrett guy. He looked good though. So they've got 3 players where you're like, okay, maybe over under here at 29.5. The rest of the Eastern Conference, there's 7 to 8 teams that are good to better than good. And then there's a chunk of teams that's real bad. And then there's the Toronto Raptors. I don't know what to do with them.
I don't either. So, I mean, they're better than the Wizards.
Yeah.
I think they're in the range of actually Atlanta, but I'm not very high in Atlanta. They're in the range of Charlotte, but I think they're probably more reliable and probably better. They're better than Detroit. They're better than the Nets. I mean, they're 10-11, right? That's kind of where it feels
like
they
going to be better than the Bulls is the question.
The Bulls, that's a good one. Does Scotty Barnes take a big leap? Is there a big jump in there? What did they win, 25 last year?
25 last year. This is set at 29.5. That's pretty significant jump.
And last year was weird because important guys moved out, right? Siakam went, not at the trade deadline, but in January. I mean, that can be disruptive. I'll go. I'll go over more as a nod to how bad I think the teams that we just mentioned beneath them are. And I think that there's a world where, man, it's going to be close. They could be, 27 to 32.
Right in that neighborhood, right?
Yeah, I'll go over. I'll go over
with you. I think, Scotty Barnes, I do really like, some improvement, some like confidence from RJ Barrett coming off of the Olympics. And Emmanuel quickly, the Knicks got the guy that they wanted in OG Anunoby, but Emmanuel quickly is a good player. I get why that you're wavering on it. I like Emmanuel quickly.
To hit 30 wins, I was more just like, it's fine.
Yeah. But 30 wins is probably low 30s. I don't think it's going to be much over that. All right, brings us to our last team in the Eastern Conference, mercifully, the Washington Wizards, who were just so bad last season. And only by the grace of the Detroit Pistons were they not the worst team in the NBA. They won 15 games last year, Bill. Struggled to realize how they did that. They bring in Jonas Valanciunas, which is kind of interesting. They ship out Denny. He's gone. He's now in Portland. I don't know. They drafted Alex Sarr. He had a terrible summer league. Kyle Kuzma decided he didn't want to go play for the Dallas Mavericks because they're building something in Washington.
He loves DC.
Jordan Poole's still there, and obviously they're tanking for Cooper Flag.
21.5 seems like a very big number. So when I saw this, I thought
6.5 north of what they did last year.
Is Vegas trying to trick me into the under? They know something I don't. Did Jordan Poole find whatever basketball religion he needs? No, under.
Under.
I answered the question myself. Under 17 wins, 18 wins.
Jordan Poole is still on that team.
You had me at Jordan Poole. The under had me at Jordan Poole.
I mean, and Alex Sarr, I don't know how much you watched him in summer league.
I did.
And look, his shot, he plays his game. When I watch him, I watch a guy who's trying to be Kevin Durant. He can't be right now. Offensively, he does not have that game. Defensively, though, he is big and hyper athletic, and I think he's going to be a pretty good defender right off the bat. But this is a team to me that, Kyle Kuzma, free yourself, man. Go somewhere else and do something else.
Maybe he's a political junkie. Maybe he's just in the heart of, he just loves the politics.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. I got no.
He should go somewhere else because they're obviously going to be super tanking and hoping to be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. So I would like to. I like Kyle Kuzma. He's a nice guy. I would like him to go do something somewhere else that is more meaningful than we're building something in Washington, because you're not. That's all I'm saying.
Kyle, this is John sending out a plea for help for you. Please
sending out a plea for help. I'm going under. You're going under. As we wrap up the Eastern Conference over-unders, part 2, Bill, what is your best bet from this one?
Oh, man. I think it's
These ones were tough.
I think it's the one we just did. I think the Wizards, I don't think they'll be the worst team in the NBA or in the Eastern Conference as the Nets, but I think that they can be. I'll go under 21.5. Best bet. Under 21.5.
You know what? I'm going with that too, because I'm looking at these and all of these were really tough. Like Pacers, I think, is going to be right around that number. The Heat we were struggling with. The Bucks we were struggling with. I'm high, obviously, on the Knicks, but we split on that. We split on the Sixers. The Magic's going to be right around there. These are really, really tough. Sure. Wizards best bet. We're both going under. Another bad season in Washington, but another good show for Beyond the Arc. That wraps up the Eastern Conference over-unders. We're going to take a little break until next week, but next week, starting on Tuesday, we're going to do over-unders parts 1 and 2 on Tuesday, and then Thursday of next week, Bill's going to take us through those, so you don't want to miss that. Come and join us. But for now, for Bill Ryder, I am John Gonzalez. We thank you all for tuning in. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.